Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.
It's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. Keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection. Nice photo. I've got beautiful light now. Oh my God. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. Fall in the Rocky Mountains, and what a spectacular time of year to be out photographing. Join myself and Jared Lloyd this week as we go out and photograph wildlife and scenics in Jackson Hole. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. Now look right here, Jared. Wolf tracks.
Oh yeah.
Now this is recent because it snowed a little bit last night.
And there's no dusting,
There's no dusting
on top of it here. Yeah, so that was definitely this morning when they came through here. This is an absolutely classic wolf track that we have right here. Notice the kind of relatively elliptical nature to the front pads there. The claw marks are present. It's about 4 inches across right there. Like I said, absolutely classic wolf track. Definitely a lone wolf coming through. Yeah, it's easily almost the size of your palm right there. And also, you know, your typical 2x2 tracks coming through here, which is what, you know, what you spotted to begin with. You know, that made you realize it was a canine track we were dealing with.
Well, we need to keep our eyes open as we progress on down this hill. You never know, might get a shot. This is the time of year, we got snow in the area. They're hungry, they're looking for food, they're getting ready to come up on that harsh winter, so the possibilities of seeing them are greater now than any time.
Exactly.
That's a really big bull right there.
Yeah, it is, Doug. And you got to realize, I mean, this is basically the largest land mammal in North America that we're dealing with. I mean, these bison can range 1,500 to 2,000 pounds and sometimes more out here. And so naturally, size oftentimes equates with danger as well. And so bison, believe it or not, are actually one of the most dangerous animals that we deal with out here. You know, wow. I would much rather, you know, be in the proximity of a grizzly bear, for instance, or wolves than I would be a very upset bison, basically. And, you know, I think a lot of people get themselves in trouble when they're photographing these animals or they're out sightseeing, you know, because they look like giant fuzzy cows more or less. But that's not the case at all. You have to understand these animals evolved or co-evolved with, you know, some pretty big predators out here, wolves, grizzly bears, as well as a whole grocery list of other predators that are now extinct but were present, you know, back during the Ice Age. I mean, the bison, they're kind of the last holdout of the Pleistocene era, if you will. And so, you know, one thing that we want to watch for when we're working around these big mammals like this, these big bison, is their tail, actually. I got a little saying that I like to keep in my mind. I tell my customers that come out and stuff like that, if the tail goes in the air, it means one of two things, either a charge or a discharge. So either he's getting ready to poop or he's getting ready to ball you over. So either way, you want to watch where you're standing, basically. So, you know, just like when we're working with the moose, we're watching their ears, the same thing with the bison, except we're watching their tail at all time. When that tail starts to come up, that means that they're upset. They're not happy. You need to back off. So, you know, we would definitely want to keep our eyes open for that.
Oh, you don't have to worry about me being careful behind these guys. The rule is what, 25 yards is the legal rule?
Yes, yeah.
25 yards is still pretty darn close.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you're dealing with big lenses, I mean, you can't even get the whole animal in the frame that way.
Right. Yeah, that's one reason I like using long lenses, because, you know, it allows me that safe working distance. And it also allows the animal to behave naturally. I don't want, you know, a picture of a bull with his tail up. I don't want a shot of him upset, you
Right.
know. I don't want him running away. So, you know, if you back off and let the animal behave naturally, you know, the images are going to be so much better.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we spend so much time, you know, kind of slowly but surely working our way in on these animals. So when we're shooting in low light conditions like this, we obviously have to compensate for the lack of light that we have here. Now, in this setting, we have snow on the ground and we have gray skies above us. And so if you're shooting directly off of the meter reading of your camera, then this is all going to turn to pretty much 18% gray, if you will. But we don't want that. We want the snow to be white, but we also want to be able to record detail inside of these bison here. And so what I'm doing, I'm shooting on aperture priority, which I often do when I'm photographing wildlife in this sort of situation especially, and I'm opening up 2/3 of a stop. So basically I use exposure compensation to brighten the scene, and what that's doing for me is it's creating a white scenario with the snow as opposed to gray snow.
Right now I'm shooting at 1/500th of a second at 5.6, and I'm having that really crank my ISO up to 1250. Now, because the light is so blue, one thing you want to keep in mind is white balance. White balance in a situation like this can get real critical. I like to change my white balance manually with my Kelvin scale, and right now I've got my Kelvin at 5800. That's adding a little bit of warmth to an otherwise blue scene, and which to the eye is going to appear nice and bright white, pure white. Pure white is what I want. Now, for folks that are shooting with automatic cameras, with automatic settings, you can always use the cloudy day setting, and that'll get you real close to the way the scene really needs to look. If you're trying to portray a really harsh, cold scenario, then you may want to leave a little bit of that blue tint in your shot to kind of convey the cold, harsh environment that these magnificent animals live in. So we got a really good situation. I was hoping that I'd run into a coyote or a wolf on this trip, and we've got a beautiful coyote coming down this frozen river bank. I'm just gonna sit tight for a minute and see what he does. He's still ways off, maybe 500-600 yards. It just looks like a little gray speck, but he is working his way down this frozen river. He's mousing in the edge of the snow there. So let's just wait this out and see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my converter on and see if I can get him a lot more pronounced in the frame. I always keep my 1.4 by converter and my 2 by converter with me at all times. You know, one of the nice things about the quality of the lens and the quality of the technology nowadays is that you can actually stack Series 2 1.4 by converters and 2 by converters together at the same time and really draw you into your subject. Yeah, that really helps. Okay, he's coming on in close now. Come on, buddy. Come on, keep coming. Thank goodness I got the wind in my favor, and I got this brush right here on the edge of the river in my favor. So he's having a lot of trouble seeing me, and he definitely can't smell me because the wind's blowing in my face right now. We got very, very low light, periods of snow, and I am shooting 1/500th of a second because he is trotting, he is moving around, so I want to make sure I have, you know, enough shutter speed to stop that action. But I'm using a 5.6 f-stop because I want to blur the background as much as possible. Now, shooting at this distance and the fact that his background is very close to the subject, I'm not going to get a lot of separation, and that's the best I can do. Because I have a converter on, it's a f4 lens. The lowest I can get is 5.6, so that's all I can do in this situation. You know, every situation you're not going to be able to design it exactly the way you want it, but so you have to do the best you can with what you're given. I'm shooting an ISO of 1000, because we do have very, very low light levels right now. I'm gonna give him a little more time to come on in. He's crossing the river now, and it looks like he's gonna get over on this other bank. I hope he doesn't disappear into the woods. I hope he continues right on down this edge. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm spot metering manually on some neutral tone brush on the bank above the coyote, and I'm compensating my exposure by stopping down about a half of a stop just to kind of control the white of the snow. Thank goodness this is not full sun, because if it was full sun, that snow would be completely blown out. This is what I was hoping for. He's coming a lot closer now. He's closed the distance to almost 100 yards, still a ways off. Constantly focusing, staying on that focus. I've got my exposure right now. And now my biggest thing is just composition and focus. And I'm just waiting for moments when he stops. Like that right there. Ooh, nice. He's lifting his head up. I think he's trying to wind us now. You never know what's going to happen.
This is the 3 largest bulls that I know of in the valley. They're all right here now.
I thought it was just 2 big bulls. We got a third one bedded in. We're getting into those great hours of the day when you have wonderful lighting, but it's a dark subject, and we got this sage grass out here, so it's a good bit brighter than the actual subject. Now if we wait, the way he's turned, he's got a little bit of a shadow casting on the side of him, but if we wait till he turns his body more into the light, that'll help reduce that contrast range.
Absolutely. Doug has a silhouette right now. Those antlers are screaming against this backdrop, and in contrast against his black body right there. I'm pulled out right now to the point where I can actually capture a lot of that ridge line behind him, which makes for a very nice environmental portrait.
He's more into the light.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there. Perfect. Might even be able to get a little bit of eye shine if he just turns his head ever so slightly. And we're still waiting for this third bull to stand up.
Right. When we first walked up into this situation, I looked through my camera before I took the first image. I was thinking to myself that the haze in the background is going to destroy the image. Actually, it is making an incredible blue background. It looks like we're shooting against a blue poster board. It's beautiful, and with the way the sagebrush is lit up, there's a lot of dramatic elements going on here.
It's still yet to be seen just how big this one laying down is. I suspect, just from what we can see of his antlers, he actually looks to be larger than this guy, but the problem is, for me, this guy over here is a terrible background. Right. Just as important as light, just as important as subject matter is the background. And so personally, I would much rather shoot this one here, who's a little bit smaller, but has the beautiful blue Teton range with a little bit of pink that's starting to pop out with alpenglow, than I would for this guy against a just kind of washed out, hazy background.
Absolutely. Let's move in just a little bit more. We don't have much light left. We're losing our light fast. That magic light is wonderful, but it goes quick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right, he's turning. Come on, pick your head up. Come on, buddy. We got 30 seconds of light. Please pick your head up. Nice.
Well, we know where they are tonight. And we'll be back in here first thing in the morning, about an hour before sunrise or so, to go ahead and scout these guys out, and we'll get on them at first light.
Sounds good. Let's let them bed down.
All right, let's do it. can see that this area is being used pretty heavily for moose traffic. You can tell these prints right here where several different bulls have actually walked through. I have a feeling we're going to have 1, 2, maybe even 3 bulls that we're going to come up on when we get into this draw here. So let's keep on heading up this way.
Jerry, they were right here where we left them. Just a few hundred yards different from where we left them last night. So this is nice. Moving up into some aspen trees.
Yeah, here we've got a nice mixture of different things here. We've got sagebrush on one side of us. We have aspen and some willows on the other side of us. And this is the perfect sort of habitat that you're going to find these moose in the late fall and into the winter season. And the main reason that they come in here is this time of year they start to transition their diet from lush sort of vegetation to more woody sort of vegetation. That's actually how they survive these colder months like this. And so you'll oftentimes see moose literally nibbling at bark of trees, eating the dormant or what appears to be dead branches of the aspens and the willows and stuff like that. And so in fact the word moose we derive from the Algonquian word mouswa, which means twig eater. And so that's how we got the name moose.
As you can see behind me, I've got white sky. I've got white sky all around me. So you want to try to use as little sky in the image as possible because it could otherwise really kill what could potentially be a really nice shot. We may have to move up this hillside a little bit to gain a little bit of elevation. I've got a good bit of sagebrush actually blocking their heads from this angle.
We can head straight down this side here and bring us right around the other side of those sticks.
All right, let's move on up there.
All right, let's do it. They just bedded down.
This is a lot better, but now we're dark animal, backlit, overcast. Not a good combination.
No, not at all. Now, I mean, you've got a couple different options, obviously. You can try and silhouette them, but it doesn't really work in this situation because you can't really get a distinct profile of them or a distinct silhouette. So I've actually opened up just a little bit in my exposure compensation, and luckily that snow that's laying around him right now is actually bouncing light up into those shadows on his face.
Like a field light.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a fill light. So it's a little bit better than it would be if we didn't have the snow right now. But you're right, though. Ultimately, it's definitely not the ideal situation for us. Too often people set up the tripods and they stand right there. They never move. They never explore the situation. You have to be willing to get up, move around, try this angle, try that angle, until you're able to slowly but surely refine your composition to find the best possible way to shoot a scene. And I can guarantee where you first walk up to on the situation, that's not going to be it. It never is. That guy is sound asleep right there. Yeah. That is the ultimate compliment for wildlife photography. That's how you know you did your job right.
Now, because we do have some clutter back behind it, I'm gonna reduce my f-stop down to f4. That's as low as I can go. So that's the most shallow depth of field I can get because I still got some tangles that's a little bit busy behind those antlers. All right, Jerry, I'll tell you what, just that quick, the light has dramatically changed. Now we're almost full sun. We've got patches of blue sky coming out over the Tetons there.
Yeah, Doug, we can go ahead and head out of here. Backlit like this, it's no longer working. When we had that thin veil of clouds, you know, this was still a shootable situation. But, you know, when we were coming in, I was able to glass a few more bulls that were standing out into the sagebrush flat. So we'll move out, try and reposition on those guys, see if we can't try and create something worth shooting.
Maybe who knows, we might run into something else, bison.
Yeah, there's plenty of things out here right now.
That was really cool, man. I tell you, it didn't last long. You know, folks, when you're in situations like this, it's real important to, you know, to understand your camera and how it works. Know how to get and change exposure rapidly. You know, we had just a few moments to get these shots. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have time to mic up and get ready. It kind of surprised us, actually. But the light was just stunningly beautiful, and you know, now it's socked in, heavy overcast.
Yeah, this is a perfect reason why I always keep my gear handy when I'm driving around in places like this. There's always situations that could pop up. I mean, yes, ideally we would like to have the opportunity to pre-plan, visualize the situation, be able to work our way in nice and slow, set up the perfect composition, and wait for the light to occur. But it doesn't always work like that. I mean, when we started out this morning, it's overcast skies like this, and you know, we came into the situation thinking that we were going to have to move in real tight and do close-up portraits of wildlife this morning, you know, in order to keep, you know, the background and the skies and everything else out of the frame. But here we are, all of a sudden we get this little break in the clouds and everything changes immediately. We didn't have, like you said, we didn't have time to set up anything. We had to jump out of the car, grab our cameras, grab our tripods, and just basically trudge through about a mile or more of sagebrush to get out there.
And we didn't even know if we were going to get set up before we lost that gorgeous light.
Yeah, Doug, we had no idea what this was going to turn out like. You know, we didn't know if we were going to get in close enough to photograph these guys up close, if we were going to be able to maintain our light like this, if the clouds were going to roll back in and sock us into this kind of flat gray scenario that we have right now. But luckily, you know, it did hold for us, and we were able to create some absolutely beautiful environmental portraits of this. Now, it was really unique because, you know, the foreground was bright, very well lit up, but the background remained in dark shadows, you know, where the mountains are basically. And so what that did is basically gave us this really nice kind of sexy black backdrop to our to our composition out here.
When we first spotted these moose, you know, it was just 4 of them standing up feeding, and when we moved in closer, you know, lo and behold, we had 8 bulls sitting there. You know, 4 of them were bedded down, the others were up grazing. And then, you know, we got that quick little fight between them. You know, I wish it would have lasted longer, but you know, that was really awesome. Whether I got a great shot, you know, I don't know yet, but you know, just seeing that is awesome. Makes it all worthwhile. The light was so pretty this morning, you know, just those beautiful orange tones, and everything was nice and warm looking, and the mountains in the background. I actually had to dial my Kelvin scale down to about 5100 to cool it off a little bit. Sometimes when you look at things with the human eye, you know, you look at these warm tones and you're like, wow, that is so pretty. But when you actually photograph it, sometimes it oversaturates the color and you really lose the you know, the natural feel of what you're actually seeing. So I dialed that Kelvin down and kind of, it was still nice and warm, but I had some nice whites in the background as well. Well, we can sit here and talk about how wonderful this was, or we can keep on going and try to find some more subjects.
Maybe coffee first.
Okay, I got it. Check this out, we got pronghorn up here.
Very nice.
I wasn't expecting to find pronghorn. I mean, I know they're common in this area, but
yeah, in most places the pronghorn have actually started to migrate out of this area down to places further south, a little bit less snow in the wintertime, stuff like that. So these are definitely catching the tail end of their migration right here.
I don't see any big bucks, but you know, these are little fellows, and they're cute, and there's some females here.
Yeah, we definitely have 2-3 fawns here, and several females, or does as we call them, in the pronghorns. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, obviously, that you can expose for this situation when we've got a backlit subject like this. Like for me, for instance, you know, I'm shooting Nikon obviously here, so I'm on 3D matrix metering, which I guess would be evaluative for Canon shooters. And I'm using exposure compensation to handle this. I'm just opening up my exposure by a stop and a third right now. And what that basically does is it really opens up these shadows in this animal here while kind of emphasizing that rim light that you see around our pronghorn that we're looking at. And it creates a very nice effect. And of course, you can do the exact same thing in manual. It's just dependent upon what you feel most comfortable doing out here. Because, you know, the last thing you want to be doing out here in a situation like this is having to think every single step through. So if you are comfortable with using exposure compensation or you're comfortable with shooting manually, go for that and stick with it.
Yeah, Jared, that's a great way to get exposure. Myself, I like to do it the manual way. I am basically spot metering the mid-tone fur area of the animal, and I'm opening up about a stop to a stop and a third, and just trying to raise those shadow areas in the face area, because that's the focal point of my particular image. These animals have a lot of character to their faces, especially around the eye and the mouth, and I want to bring that detail out. You know, y'all got some crazy weather out here. I mean, I've not seen weather change this drastically, this quick, anywhere else other than maybe Alaska. I mean, you know, we started out with sun, then clouds. Temperature was a little above freezing. Now I'm actually seeing some snow flurries falling.
Yeah. Well, it's fall, man. It's a non-season, you know. It's kind of straddles summer and winter. We don't really have anything in between that out here.
Yeah, I tell you what a spectacular place. Looks like these guys are kind of feeding their way back up the hill now. I tell you what, daylight's burning. Let's keep going and see what else we can find. Wow, you know, Jackson Hole never ceases to amaze me. There's always something to photograph here. No matter what season of the year you come, this place is abundant with wildlife. I'd like to thank Jared Lloyd for taking time to share this magnificent place with me. Hope you've learned a little bit about photographing moose and other wildlife in the Jackson Hole area. More information about this week's show is available online. And remember, it's not just a photograph, it's the outdoor experience. I'm your host, Doug Gardner. Thank you for joining me on another wild photo adventure. YMCA. You don't want rear end shots and then running away. I'm rambling. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. So you can either you. My tongue is both. Don't go there. I won't get anything done the rest of the day. You get me laughing. I can't even think now. Stop it.
Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.